Beloved chosen one, listen carefully. Heaven pauses its rhythm right now, because this moment is not coincidence, it is divine appointment. You were never a mistake. You were never just another soul wandering through time. You were a divine idea that made hell tremble and made heaven laugh in victory. The very day you were born, heaven smiled. For God knew you would walk through fire and still carry light. You may not realize it yet, but every storm that tried to drown you only revealed your anointing. Every night you cried, heaven kept record. Angels whispered, "Hold on, the dawn is coming." And when the dawn broke, it didn't just bring light, it brought laughter. Not human laughter, but divine laughter, the sound of God's triumph ringing across eternity because you refused to quit. The world doesn't understand you because you're not built like them. You're a sign and a wonder in human form. You are the evidence that grace wins, that purpose cannot die, that even in ashes, destiny breathes. God looked at your pain and turned it into prophecy. He looked at your wilderness and declared, "This one will come out glowing." Beloved, remember those seasons where you felt forgotten, heaven was silent, yet busy. God was hiding you in plain sight, preparing your name for moments like this. You thought you were invisible, but heaven was setting the stage. Every disappointment, every betrayal, every rejection, it all aligned to reveal your crown. You were not being buried, you were being planted. And when you rose, heaven laughed, because the seed the enemy tried to destroy became the tree that will shade generations. You are still here because grace said, "Not yet." Every attack that came your way carried a hidden promotion. Every tear you shed watered the ground of your next miracle. Heaven watched your endurance and rejoiced, for your obedience broke ancient chains. You didn't just survive, you shifted the spiritual atmosphere. Listen, chosen one, the laughter of God is not mockery, it's victory. It is heaven's way of saying, "It is finished." The very forces that mocked you are now spectators to your rising. You're not behind schedule, you're right on divine timing. What looked like delay was a setup for double glory. God laughs because he already wrote your comeback before your battle even began. You have no idea how much heaven values you. Your voice carries weight in the unseen. When you whisper, "Amen," mountains move. When you praise through pain, the atmosphere shakes. You carry heaven's fragrance. You are marked by fire and mercy. Hell knows your name, but not because you belong to it, because it fears what you carry. You were never meant to blend in, you were designed to stand out. You were not made to chase blessings, blessings are commanded to chase you. Every moment you chose faith over fear became a declaration of God's victory. So lift your head. Chosen one, walk like one who carries heaven's laughter in their lungs. You are not small, and your story is not over. As the prophet wrote in the scroll of Psalms, chapter 30, verse 5, "Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning." That morning is now. The laughter of God is your sunrise. The same God who counted your tears is now counting your victories. Heaven isn't mourning your past, it's celebrating your persistence. You didn't break, you became unbreakable. So if this message finds you in a moment of doubt, remember, heaven is laughing because your destiny cannot be undone. The King of Kings still sits on the throne, and he has declared your survival as his victory. If these words stirred something deep within you, take a moment to like, share, and subscribe so that more chosen ones awaken to this same truth. Let this be your act of agreement with heaven's laughter. Now, as a prophetic declaration, comment the number 777 below to say, I rise with divine laughter. I am God's victorious one. Heaven watches now as your spirit steadies. Every breath you take declares, I am still here. The laughter of God surrounds you, wrapping you in radiant peace. Even in silence, His glory moves through you. You are not waiting for victory. You are the victory heaven laughs about. There is a fire inside you that cannot be quenched. It grows stronger each time life tries to dim your light. The same spirit that raised Jesus from the grave now burns within your chest. You walk not as a survivor, but as a vessel of divine power. Lift your hands, chosen one. Feel the air shift as heaven aligns with your next step. The laughter of God echoes through every promise written about you. You are living proof that the storm bowed and grace prevailed. The story continues in power. This is your divine reminder you are loved, chosen, and unstoppable. Every shadow fears your rising. Every chain trembles at your name. The laughter of God will follow you into tomorrow, and joy will meet you at every turn. There are victories no one saw but heaven, the ones fought behind closed doors. When your voice trembled and your faith felt fragile, you remember those nights, the ones where silence pressed against your chest and every breath felt like a battle. No spotlight, no applause, just you and God in the dark. But that darkness was holy ground. It was there, in unseen places, that the greatest victories were written. The world celebrates what is visible, but heaven crowns what is hidden. While others were chasing recognition, you were chasing His presence. While the world was busy building platforms, you were building altars. That is why you are different. The hidden battles you fought in secret became songs of triumph in heaven's courts. You may have thought you were weeping alone, but every tear was a declaration that you still believed when you had every reason not to. Chosen one. Do you realize what that means? It means the enemy lost long before you saw the breakthrough. It means that every silent prayer, every whispered "Lord, help me," became thunder in the spirit. It means that while people judged you by what they could see, God was rewarding what they couldn't. The unseen obedience, the times you forgave, the moments you walked away instead of retaliating, those were the real wars. Those were the moments that shifted eternity. God hid you on purpose. You thought you were forgotten, but He was shielding you from premature exposure. The soil was not ready yet, and heaven was still preparing your crown. You were never overlooked. You were preserved, because had you been seen too soon, the enemy would have tried to destroy what was still forming. But now the time has come, and the fragrance of your hidden worship is rising to heaven. You see, true strength is not proven in public, it's proven in secret surrender. You learned to fight not with swords but with surrender. You learned that sometimes the loudest declaration of faith is quiet endurance. And that kind of faith terrifies hell because it cannot be manipulated, it cannot be bought, and it cannot be broken. When you prayed through tears, heaven responded with movement. Angels stood guard while you slept. The ground shook beneath your pain because your endurance carried generational impact. You didn't just endure for yourself, you endured for those who will come after you. Your persistence became a doorway through which others will walk freely. And though you did not see it then, Every hidden battle ended with heaven's applause. The Father leaned forward on his throne and smiled, saying, "Look at my child, they still believe." And that one statement shattered 1,000 accusations against you. Heaven roared in laughter, not because of mockery, but because victory was already secured. You have walked through storms that required divine restraint, and you passed tests that only God saw. That's why the glory that surrounds you now feels heavier. It's the weight of hidden faithfulness. You didn't ask for this anointing. You earned it in tears. You didn't demand attention. You cultivated depth. And heaven trusted you with mysteries others never saw. Now, you begin to understand why God allowed isolation. It was never punishment, it was preparation. The silence of those years was the sound of heaven training you to hear whispers. When others needed signs, you learned to sense His presence. When others sought recognition, you sought revelation. That is why you carry a different fire. The world may never know the cost of your obedience, but God does, and He rewards in public what was birthed in private. There is no wasted tear, no unseen prayer, no hidden act of obedience that heaven will not honor. The secret victories are the foundations of your visible glory. We find in the holy words of Matthew, chapter 6, verse 6, "But when you pray, go into your room and shut the door and pray to your Father who is in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you." This is not just instruction, it is confirmation. You have been seen. You have been known. Every hidden cry reached His throne. Every private surrender became a song of triumph echoing through heaven. So, as you continue walking, remember, the true heroes of faith were not crowned before crowds, they were refined in caves. You have walked that path. You have faced that silence. And because of it, heaven laughs in victory through your story. The hidden battle is won. You stand as one who overcame in secret, and now, the light of God rises over you for all to see. Heaven remembers every moment you chose faith in the dark. The sound of your whispered prayers became lightning in unseen realms. What you thought was silence was actually God rearranging everything in your favor. You were hidden, but never forgotten. Now, the light reveals what darkness could not destroy. Every scar shines as proof of divine preservation. You have graduated from secrecy into authority, from brokenness into brilliance. The same God who watched you in secret now calls your name openly. There was a time when the world laughed at you. Chosen one. They mocked your hope. They misunderstood your faith. And they mistook your silence for weakness. You stood there, surrounded by voices that said you would never make it, that your dreams were foolish, that your prayers were wasted breath. But what they didn't know, what they couldn't see, was that heaven was recording every insult as a setup for divine reversal. You were not being humiliated, you were being positioned. Every sneer, every rejection, every whisper against you was fuel for God's laughter. Because when the world mocked you, heaven smiled. When they pushed you away, the throne room leaned closer. You were not cast aside, you were set apart. The mockery of man only magnified the majesty of your calling. The pain you felt was not punishment, it was proof that you carried something rare. The chosen ones are always misunderstood, because destiny rarely makes sense to those still trapped in logic. You carried a divine frequency that only heaven could interpret. And so, while others laughed, angels prepared your robe. While the crowd doubted, God was crowning you in secret. Think about it every time you were overlooked. God was saying, "I'll reveal them, myself." Every time they said you were finished, heaven wrote another chapter. You see, mockery is often the soundtrack that plays right before manifestation. The enemy mocks what he fears. That's why the laughter of the world could never drown out the laughter of God. When you walk through seasons of ridicule, remember this: heaven's laughter always comes last. God never ends a story in disgrace. He ends it in glory. The same voices that once mocked you will one day testify that His hand was on you all along. The same mouths that spoke against you will witness the fruit of your endurance. Because when God restores, He doesn't do it quietly. He does it so that everyone sees that you were chosen all along. You are entering the season where vindication will no longer be just a word, it will be your reality. The ones who said you wouldn't survive will have to watch you thrive. The same soil where they buried your name will birth your testimony. Heaven laughs because the outcome is already decided. You don't have to fight for recognition. The glory on your life will speak louder than words. The Spirit spoke through the Apostle Peter in 1 Peter. Chapter 5, verse 10, "And after you have suffered a little while, the God of all grace will Himself restore, confirm, strengthen, and establish you." This is your verse in living form. You suffered, you waited, you stood, and now God Himself is restoring and establishing you. You are being confirmed not by human validation, but by divine laughter, the sound that shakes the heavens and silences your accusers. So, when the memory of those mocking moments comes to your mind, smile, because now you understand they were part of the prophecy. Without their laughter, heaven's victory would not resound as loudly. What they called your failure, God called your foundation. What they called weakness, heaven called wisdom. You are walking into a season where your very existence becomes an answered prayer. You won't need to explain yourself. Your fruit will speak. You won't need to defend yourself. Your endurance will testify. Heaven laughs not because the battle was easy, but because you stayed faithful when everything in you wanted to give up. The crowd saw a breaking, God saw a birthing. The world saw rejection, God saw redirection. What looked like loss was only a lesson in disguise. You were never losing, you were being refined. And now, the laughter of God echoes over your life as a decree. This one did not quit. This one believed anyway. Now, if this word burns in your spirit, go to the comments and write, "Heaven laughs last." Write it as your declaration of faith. You're proclaiming that no matter who mocked you, no matter what was said against you, the final laughter belongs to God, and you laugh with Him now. Every insult becomes evidence. Every rejection becomes redemption. Heaven laughs last. And you rise in that victory. When you type, "Heaven laughs last," you are not just writing words, you are echoing eternity's decree. You are agreeing with the God who turns shame into strength, mockery into miracles, and pain into prophecy. You are declaring that your ending will always glorify His name. Each time you write, "Heaven laughs last," you align your spirit with victory. You remind the darkness that its laughter was premature, that the story isn't over until God speaks. You proclaim that every trial was a seed of triumph planted by divine hands. So type "Heaven laughs last" and feel heaven's joy flow through you. Let it seal your faith and shift your atmosphere. For this is not mere repetition, it is a covenant. A holy declaration that your story will finish with divine laughter echoing across eternity. There was a night when hell celebrated too early. The air was thick with deception, and darkness whispered, "It's over." You remember that season, the one where everything you cared for seemed to fall apart. You didn't just lose things, you felt pieces of yourself slipping through your fingers. The voices around you echoed the same defeat, "Where is your God now?" And for a moment, the silence felt heavier than any answer. But heaven was not silent, it was strategizing. In the unseen, angels were already preparing your next dawn. What looked like abandonment was actually alignment. The battle you faced was never meant to destroy you. It was designed to expose what was divine within you. The enemy celebrated too soon because he didn't know you were built to rise from ashes. Every chosen one experiences this moment, the false victory of darkness. It is a sacred test, a refining fire that separates believers from carriers of glory. The night was long because God was stretching your endurance, strengthening your roots, and teaching you to hear His voice even when the heavens seemed closed. You thought He was distant, but He was whispering deeper truths into your spirit. This pain will not be wasted. When you stood in the middle of that silence, heaven watched closely. The moment you refused to curse God and still whispered, "I trust you," the atmosphere shifted. The celebration in hell turned into confusion. Angels took flight. The Father leaned forward, because the instant you chose faith in the face of despair, you declared war without even realizing it. Your tears became divine signals. Each one hit the ground and formed rivers of intercession. Your heartache became holy incense rising before the throne. The enemy thought your tears were weakness, but God called them worship. The night hell trembled wasn't when you shouted victory, it was when you whispered surrender. The power of your perseverance shook unseen realms. You may not have seen it, but that night, light broke through the deepest caverns of darkness. Hell's laughter turned into panic because your faith refused to die. You became a threat, not by shouting louder, but by believing longer. You didn't need to see the miracle to believe in it. That's why heaven called you chosen. When everyone else walked away from faith, you clung to the hem of His garment. When others cursed the delay, you chose to praise in it. That decision, the quiet one no one saw, shifted the battle. Heaven laughed because your endurance silenced hell's accusations. Chosen one, you must understand this. Your strength wasn't proven in success, but in stillness. When you kept walking with shattered hope, when you prayed without answers, when you smiled through pain, heaven saw. God didn't overlook your heartbreak. He transformed it into holy authority. That's why the same demons that once mocked you now flee when you speak. You have become a carrier of divine resilience. We read this truth in the sacred text of James, chapter 4, verse 7, "Resist the devil, and he will flee from you." You did exactly that. You resisted not just through words, but through endurance. You didn't surrender your faith even when it hurt. You resisted despair, fear, and unbelief. And now, the promise stands fulfilled. The enemy fled, not because of your power, but because of your persistence. Hell trembled the moment you realized that pain couldn't kill purpose. The same battle that tried to silence you became the very testimony that now strengthens others. The wounds you carried are no longer symbols of defeat. They are the signatures of heaven's victory written upon your soul. Think about it. If the darkness could have destroyed you, It would have by now. But here you are, still breathing, still standing, still shining. That is the evidence that the laughter of God has already echoed through your story. The night ended the moment you decided not to quit. You are not defined by what you lost in that season. You are defined by what survived it. Faith survived. Purpose survived. Love survived. And now, you stand in the dawn of restoration. Heaven laughs not at your pain, but because your pain could not stop you. Let this truth settle deep within you. The enemy only celebrates when he believes he has silenced you. But as long as you can whisper his name, the fight is never over. And because of that whisper, hell trembles still. So walk boldly. Chosen one, carry the sound of heaven's laughter in your steps. Let your scars remind you that the darkness cannot win. For every night that tried to bury you became proof that the light within you is eternal. The night hell trembled is the same night heaven crowned you with victory unseen. Heaven records the moment your whisper shattered darkness. That single act of faith rewrote destinies. You were never losing a battle, you were birthing authority through endurance. Now every step you take echoes triumph. The same night that broke you became your coronation. Heaven laughs, and your spirit laughs with him. There are moments when heaven's gaze focuses on one single soul, and tonight, that soul is you. You stand before the throne of God, not empty-handed, but carrying the weight of every battle you've overcome. Heaven watches, and the Father smiles not because of perfection, but because you're still standing. You are proof that faith still works. Chosen one. Imagine this scene, heaven's vast courtroom, filled with light beyond measure. Angels encircle the throne. The Father points toward you and says, "That one still standing, still believing." The echo of that declaration rolls through eternity. It is the sound of God's laughter of victory. You may not feel extraordinary, but your endurance has moved heaven. Every scar you carry is a divine medal. Every disappointment you've endured has become a bridge of wisdom. And now, in this moment of reflection, heaven leans close and whispers, "Well done. You didn't give up when everything screamed that you should. You trusted when logic said not to. You prayed when your own strength was gone. That is why the heavens rejoice over you." You see, it's not about grand gestures or perfect words. What moves heaven is sincerity, the honest cry of your heart saying, "Lord, I'm still here." You don't need titles. You don't need recognition. God himself is your witness, and he delights in the purity of your faith. The word of God declares in Isaiah, chapter 54, verse 17, "No weapon that is formed against you shall prosper." That promise isn't just ink on paper, it's living truth within you. Every arrow aimed at your purpose was bent backward by grace. Every storm that tried to silence you only stirred your roots deeper into God's soil. You are living evidence that his promises do not fail. And now, as heaven watches, the Spirit invites you to continue carrying that light into the world. When you speak, hope rises. When you share, others find courage to believe again. You may not realize it, but your journey has become a lamp for someone else's night. Your endurance has already inspired hearts you will never meet in person. That is the mystery of divine connection. God weaves souls together like threads of light. Every time you share what touched your heart, that light spreads further. Every time you lift another with your words or your prayers, heaven multiplies the impact. The laughter of God echoes louder when His light travels from one heart to another. So, as you watch or listen, take a moment to breathe. You're part of something larger, a tapestry of grace that stretches across nations, languages, and time itself. When you engage, when you like, when you share, you are tossing tiny sparks into the dark sky, and those sparks join to become constellations of hope. And if, as you listen, you feel a gentle pull in your heart, a desire to sow into this flow of grace, follow that whisper, not out of pressure, but out of partnership. To donate here is like pouring a drop of oil into a lamp. You keep the flame alive for the next traveler lost in the night. Your generosity becomes part of heaven's laughter, spreading warmth and illumination to those still searching for the light. Think of it this way: every act of support, your time, your share, your gift is a quiet seed hidden in God's garden. You may never see all it becomes, but heaven waters it with joy. The fruit appears in unseen lives that find healing through your yes. So, when you subscribe, you are not following a page, you're joining a procession of torchbearers who carry divine light together. Each click is a footstep in faith, a ripple of the message moving farther, higher, deeper. And if you choose to give, do it freely. Let it be your love song to God. A seed placed in gratitude will always return as laughter, peace, and unexpected open doors. No pressure, no demand, only the beauty of choice and the fragrance of faith. So, chosen one, breathe in grace. You are part of this divine symphony, the one where heaven laughs and hearts awaken. Like if this word lit a spark in you. Share it if you want others to feel that same light. Subscribe to stay close to this current of hope. And, if you feel led, give as one who waters light itself, because every click, every word, every seed of love keeps heaven's laughter echoing across the earth. Heaven records every spark you release, every act of kindness. Every seed of faith becomes a ripple that reaches further than you can imagine. Your light joins others, forming galaxies of divine compassion. Each click of love becomes a heartbeat in heaven's rhythm. Angels trace your generosity like threads of gold across eternity, weaving stories of redemption where there was despair. You are part of a sacred melody. The laughter of God grows louder with every act of grace. When you give, share, or believe, heaven sings your name in joy. You are living proof that love multiplies light forever. There comes a turning point in every divine story, a moment when heaven whispers, "Now." The waiting ends. The shifting begins. The clouds that once hid your horizon start to part, revealing a sunrise painted in grace. That is where you are standing now. Chosen one, at the turning of the battle. The season that once pressed against you is now bowing before you. Heaven has declared, enough. You can almost feel it in the air, the change, the release, the quiet authority of answered prayer. What used to drain your strength is losing its power. The weight that sat on your chest for years suddenly lifts because the hand of God has moved. You're no longer fighting the same way. You are now walking in the rhythm of divine justice. What was once resistance has become revelation. There was a time when it seemed the heavens were silent, but the silence was strategic. God was gathering evidence. Every injustice, every betrayal, Every sleepless night became part of a divine case being built in your favor. Heaven's court does not forget. Every tear you sowed is now being presented as evidence that you remained faithful. And when heaven rules in your favor, no power on earth or in hell can overturn the verdict. You must understand there is a moment in every chosen one's journey when the scales shift. The enemy loses his right to accuse, and mercy takes the stand. That's where you are now. Grace has taken your file, stamped it with victory, and handed it back with a new assignment. This battle has turned, not because you fought harder, but because heaven fought for you. You have entered the divine exchange. What once broke you will now bless you. What once drained you will now elevate you. The stones thrown against you are being transformed into stepping stones beneath your feet. You are not just surviving the battle, you are being promoted because of it. The ancient words in Romans, chapter 8, verse 28, remind us, and we know that all things work together for good to those who love God. You've lived that truth. Every painful detour, every unexpected delay was secretly shaping you into the vessel heaven needed. The storms didn't delay you, they refined you. They carved capacity into your soul. They made you ready for the weight of the glory that's now coming. Listen closely. Chosen one, the sound you hear in your spirit right now, that soft stirring, is not anxiety. It's alignment. It's heaven shifting things into your favor. You're stepping out of warfare and into witness. You're moving from prayer request to testimony. The story that once made you weep will soon make others worship. You may not see all the change yet, but it's already begun. The people who once underestimated you will soon witness your elevation. The opportunities that once passed you by are circling back, this time with your name written in light. God doesn't restore you to where you were, He always takes you higher. And when you feel that rising inside, don't resist it. Flow with it. Heaven is breathing through your obedience. This isn't just breakthrough, it's divine reordering. The same hand that wrote your destiny is now erasing the traces of defeat. The laughter of God echoes through this turning, because what once looked like loss has become your launch. So lift your head. Chosen one, the shift is not coming, it's here. You can almost feel heaven smiling as it rearranges things on your behalf. Where there was confusion, there will be clarity. Where there was mourning, there will be music. The Father is rewriting your season with joy as His ink. And now, as a prophetic act of agreement with heaven's turning, I invite you to declare your faith. Go to the comments and type the number 444. Let this be your sign of alignment, the number of divine order, stability, and the completion of heaven's plan. When you write it, you're saying, Lord, I trust your timing. I believe the battle has turned. Each 444 becomes a spiritual stamp, a whisper that says, my story is being rewritten by grace. Heaven sees your agreement and begins to breathe acceleration into your next chapter. You're not begging for victory anymore, you're walking in it. So breathe in deeply. Feel the atmosphere shifting around you. The waiting is over. The verdict is rendered. The battle has turned. And heaven laughs not in mockery, but in triumph, because the victory belongs to you. When you type 444, you're not just pressing numbers, you're agreeing with heaven's rhythm. You're declaring that divine order is unfolding in your life right now. It's a whisper of faith that says, God is arranging what once felt broken. Every 444 you release becomes a banner over your journey. It tells darkness, the balance has shifted. My story is now aligned with heaven's blueprint. It's not superstition, it's synchronization with the will of God. So, write 444 as your confirmation that this is your turning point. You are stepping into divine stability, grounded in faith, crowned in laughter. Heaven moves as you believe. Every plan that was designed to harm you is now being rewritten by heaven into a masterpiece of grace. What was meant to break you has become the very instrument of your rise. The same traps that were built to contain you have become the foundations of your platform. You have confused the enemy because he cannot understand how someone who has faced so much can still shine with peace. But you do, chosen one, because your endurance has become your authority. You've seen what happens when pain meets purpose. The weapons formed against you didn't just fail, they became tools in your transformation. The heartbreaks became lessons. The betrayals became clarity. The loneliness became a classroom where God Himself taught you to listen differently. The same darkness that tried to suffocate your spirit has now become the backdrop against which your light blazes brighter. That's the irony of heaven's strategy. What was supposed to silence you has amplified you instead. The truth is, confusion has taken over the enemy's camp. Every time he pushed you to the edge, you didn't fall, you flew. Every time he tried to trap you, you turned that prison into a place of praise. He cannot comprehend this kind of power because it's not human, it's divine. The grace that covers you is the mystery that terrifies darkness. You are not just surviving, you are governing. Every time you forgive, every time you choose peace over retaliation, you exercise heavenly dominion on earth. Think about it, how many times did you almost lose yourself, yet found new strength instead? That wasn't coincidence, it was divine contradiction. The same storm that was meant to drown you taught you how to walk on water. The same loss that should have emptied you revealed an infinite well inside you. That's what it means to be chosen. Heaven doesn't remove battles, it turns you into a living victory. You have stepped into a realm where every disappointment becomes divine data. Heaven collects every detail and rearranges it into destiny. Even your mistakes have been folded into the equation of grace. What the enemy calculated for your destruction has only increased your depth. You no longer react like before, because you've learned the secret language of divine reversal. You know how to smile even when it hurts, because you've seen what God can do with ashes. And now, look at yourself. You are no longer the same. You've matured, not in age, but in anointing. There is a calm in your spirit now, a stability that shakes the unstable. You have become a mirror reflecting heaven's patience and God's mercy. Even your silence carries authority, because it's not emptiness, it's discernment. Heaven trusts you with secrets that are not for everyone's ears. You are no longer just reacting to life, you are interpreting it through revelation. We are reminded of this truth in Genesis, chapter 50, verse 20. You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good. That verse is the heartbeat of your story. Every plan the enemy crafted against you became the raw material for your purpose. The people who turned away from you only cleared space for the right ones to arrive. The doors that slammed shut simply redirected you toward better ones. The pain that once paralyzed you now propels you. God has turned everything meant for your harm into instruments of healing for yourself and for others. Now heaven's laughter rings in rhythm with your heartbeat. It's the laughter of victory over confusion. The enemy watches you walk in peace after all that, and it baffles him. You shouldn't have made it, but you did. You shouldn't have had strength left, but you do. That is the testimony, the living contradiction that reveals God's fingerprints. Your presence itself has become a threat to darkness, not because you fight with force, but because you live with faith. Every step you take confuses evil because it cannot predict a heart led by the Spirit. You have learned to move with heaven's timing, swift when needed, still when required. You walk in wisdom that was forged in fire. You carry peace that was shaped in pressure. This is the mystery of your becoming. Pain refined you. Loss positioned you. Endurance crowned you. You didn't escape the battle, you transformed in it. And now, you are heaven's mystery walking on earth, the answer to prayers you never heard. The evidence that grace is stronger than strategy. Look back one last time at what was meant to destroy you. See it now as the ladder that lifted you higher. The confusion of your enemies is heaven's confirmation that the plan worked. The more they tried to contain you, the wider your reach became. The more they spoke against you, the more heaven amplified your voice. The more they cursed you, the more blessings found your address. So, rest now. Chosen one, the warfare that once surrounded you has lost its sting. The confusion that once clouded your mind has lifted. You are walking in clarity, guided by divine order. Nothing wasted, nothing lost, only redeemed. The laughter of God echoes because the enemy's best attempt became heaven's best testimony. There is a sound that shakes eternity, a sound so holy that even angels pause to listen. It is not thunder, nor trumpet, but laughter, the divine laughter of God, echoing through realms beyond time, overflowing with joy, filled with victory. And in that sound, your name is woven. You may not hear it with your ears, but your spirit does. It's the melody that has followed you since birth, the sound of heaven rejoicing because you exist. Chosen one, imagine it. The creator of galaxies smiling over your life. The one who spoke light into existence, laughing because you refused to give up. The laughter of God is not careless or cruel, it is purposeful. It is the sound that follows victory. It's the thunder that answers prayer. It's heaven saying, "The plan worked. My child has overcome." Every time you rise after falling, that sound ripples across dimensions. When God laughs, the universe responds. Mountains bow, seas calm, and darkness trembles. That laughter is not merely amusement, it's decree. It's heaven announcing that no plan of the enemy will stand. When you walk in obedience, heaven laughs because the outcome is guaranteed. Every obstacle that once looked impossible becomes a stage for God's glory. You see, laughter is the sound of completion. When God laughs, it means what was threatened has been redeemed, what was stolen has been returned, and what was broken is now whole again. You are walking in that restoration. Heaven's laughter has become the background music of your life, even when you cannot yet perceive it. There were seasons when you thought heaven was silent, but silence was only the space before divine laughter. You mistook waiting for abandonment, but God was preparing the perfect punchline to the enemy's schemes. Because that's what divine laughter is. It's the final word that cancels all opposition. Heaven laughs last, and that laughter always wins. Every promise you've held on to has been echoed in heaven's laughter. The times you stood shaking, praying through tears. God saw you. The laughter wasn't to mock your pain, it was to celebrate your perseverance. When you said, "Lord, I still trust you," even through breaking, heaven erupted in joy. Angels rejoiced because they saw what your future self could not yet see, the victory that was already written. The prophet Job once endured unbearable loss. But when restoration came, heaven's laughter was heard again. The same applies to you. Every tear has been transformed into sound, joy, amplified through endurance. Heaven's laughter through you is not just symbolic, it's prophetic. It announces the shifting of seasons, the end of sorrow, the beginning of strength. We read this promise in Job, chapter 8, verse 21. He will yet fill your mouth with laughter and your lips with shouts of joy. This isn't just comfort, it's confirmation. You are standing in the fulfillment of that verse. Heaven is pouring laughter back into your soul. It's cleansing away the residue of grief, washing over every weary place inside you. You are being filled not just with happiness, but with holy joy that no circumstance can touch. That laughter is not far away, it's in you. It's the spark that keeps you moving forward, the quiet warmth that rises even in the aftermath of pain. Every time you smile after sorrow, you echo heaven. Every time you choose gratitude instead of bitterness, the throne room resounds with laughter again. Heaven's laughter is healing you in ways words cannot describe. It's unraveling the tension in your heart. It's rewriting your emotional memory so that the same moments that once hurt you now become reminders of God's faithfulness. You are not the same person who once wept in despair. You are lighter, freer, radiant with divine renewal. And perhaps the most beautiful part, this laughter is contagious. It travels through your words, through your presence, through your faith. Others will feel it without understanding why. You will carry peace that disarms anxiety, joy that melts cynicism, faith that revives the hopeless. That is heaven's laughter moving through you, unseen but undeniable. Chosen one, this is your inheritance. You are not chasing laughter. Laughter has been chasing you. It follows you like light follows the sun. Every place you step, you bring heaven's joy into the atmosphere. You are a walking echo of divine triumph. You don't even need to try. It radiates naturally because you've lived through what tried to kill your song. So let your heart breathe again. Feel the joy beginning to rise from deep within, like rivers finding their way back to the ocean. You've mourned enough. You've carried sorrow long enough. Heaven's laughter is here to stay. It is the sound of completion, the proof that all things are made new. Lift your eyes. Feel the warmth of divine joy resting upon you. The season of heaviness is over, and the rhythm of laughter begins. You are not just hearing heaven's joy, you are becoming it. When you walk, heaven walks. When you laugh again, God's victory resounds across eternity. You were never an afterthought in heaven's design. You were not placed on this earth by coincidence. You were positioned as strategy. Every step, every struggle, every strange detour was not random, it was precise. God orchestrated it with the kind of wisdom that confounds even angels. You are not a side note in history, you are a divine move in God's eternal chessboard. Chosen one. Think about that for a moment. The enemy thought he was outsmarting you. He thought the attacks would cripple your faith, scatter your focus, and silence your calling. But in trying to destroy you, he walked right into heaven's trap. He became an unwilling participant in your promotion. What looked like sabotage became setup. What looked like delay became divine redirection. The truth is, you were never losing, you were being positioned. The confusion, the heartbreak, the battles, they were all rearranging you into alignment with purpose. When you didn't understand what was happening, heaven was 3 moves ahead, already planning your breakthrough. The chessboard of your life wasn't falling apart. God was simply making the perfect checkmate. That's why you must stop blaming yourself for what you didn't see coming. How could you? It wasn't meant for you to understand every move. It was meant for you to trust the master who saw the whole board. Every loss, every closed door, every painful shift was part of a pattern. Heaven was placing you where light would shine through you best. Sometimes the most strategic move is not forward, but hidden. There were moments God allowed you to disappear so you could grow in silence. He removed you from tables that could not feed your spirit. He withheld certain blessings until your foundation was strong enough to hold them. None of it was rejection, it was refinement. Heaven was guarding the plan. We find this truth declared in Jeremiah, chapter 1, verse 5. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. You have always been the strategy. Long before pain entered your story, purpose was written over your name. God saw your strength before you saw your struggle. He prepared grace before the first tear ever fell. And now, as you look back, you can see it, the divine fingerprints marking every chapter of your life. The people who left made space for peace. The job that ended pushed you into calling. The waiting season built the patience required for promotion. Nothing was wasted. Even the mistakes became lessons that sharpened your discernment. That's how heaven works. It turns your why into wow. You carry the mind of a strategist now, though you might not recognize it yet. You no longer respond like you used to. You discern motives. You sense shifts. You walk differently because you've learned that stillness can be more powerful than speech. You understand that silence can be the greatest weapon in a world of noise. This revelation marks your maturity. You've moved from asking why me to declaring use me. That is the transition from victim to vessel. You are no longer merely reacting to life, you are partnering with heaven's design. Your story is no longer about survival, it's about stewardship. Every challenge you faced was training you to move like heaven moves, calmly, wisely, unshaken. Heaven laughs again because the plan worked. The enemy's greatest confusion is that everything he used against you became your armor. The words that wounded you became your wisdom. The loneliness that broke you became your sanctuary. The failures that embarrassed you became your education. Heaven's strategy is flawless, and you are walking proof. When people look at you now, they see peace where pain used to live. They see composure where chaos once reigned. They see light where loss once lingered. And though they may not understand how you made it through, heaven knows it was written. It was timed. It was divine. Now you carry heaven's strategy into every space you enter. You are the answer to questions others don't even know how to ask yet. You are the fulfillment of prayers spoken generations ago. Your life is a move on God's board that no enemy can undo. If this truth stirs something deep in your soul, go to the comments and type "Heaven planned this." Let that be your declaration. It's not just a phrase, it's an awakening. You're proclaiming that everything, the pain, the pause, the promotion was part of God's blueprint. You're saying, nothing was wasted. Every move was love. When you write it, heaven smiles, because you finally see what it always knew: you were the strategy all along. When you type "Heaven planned this," you're acknowledging divine intelligence at work in your journey. You're declaring that every step, even the painful ones, was designed for your becoming. It's your way of saying, "I trust the architect more than I fear the unknown." Each word carries faith's vibration into the atmosphere. By writing "Heaven planned this," you align your life with divine precision. It's not surrender to fate, it's surrender to purpose. You're confirming that nothing is random and that God's design has always been leading you toward light. Fire. That is the only way to describe what you have walked through. Not the kind that destroys, but the kind that purifies. You have been refined, not reduced. Every heartbreak, every disappointment, every unanswered prayer has become part of your refining fire. Heaven was never trying to hurt you. Heaven was sculpting you. The gold that you now carry within could not have been formed in comfort. It was born in the flame. Chosen one. You may not realize it, but your glow is different now. It is not the brightness of pride, but the radiance of endurance. You have passed through fire and emerged as proof that grace is fireproof. The heat that once burned you has now baptized you in strength. Every scar has become a medal. Every pain, a prophecy. You wear resilience like a crown, and heaven calls you crowned in fire. The prophet Zechariah once wrote in chapter 13, verse 9, "I will refine them like silver and test them like gold." This scripture is not a threat, it is a love story. It tells you that the fire wasn't random, it was relational. The flames did not come to destroy you, but to reveal you. Fire exposes what is fake and preserves what is true. And you, chosen one, have proven true. Now, as heaven looks upon you, there is celebration, not just because you survived, but because you transformed. You have become a torchbearer in a dark world. You carry warmth for the cold, hope for the hopeless, and light for those still searching for the path you once stumbled through. Every trial has given you something more valuable than comfort. It gave you compassion. You can now look at another's pain and truly see them. You can speak healing because you know how it feels to bleed. You can guide others out of fire because you've learned how to dance through it. That is your divine inheritance. Now imagine this heaven's light flowing through you like molten gold. Every word you speak, every action you take, pours warmth into the world. That's what this message, this movement, is about. Not performance, not popularity, but the spreading of that warmth. When you choose to like, when you share, when you subscribe, you are adding another piece of wood to the fire, keeping the flame alive for others still walking through the night. And if your heart feels stirred to give, don't think of it as payment. Think of it as oil poured into a lamp. Your donation is not a transaction, it's a continuation. It keeps the light burning for those who are still finding their way. Your generosity is not demanded. It is invited, a soft echo of heaven's rhythm of giving. Every act of support, your kind words, your time, your gift is a spark. These sparks gather together to form a bonfire of hope that reaches places even your eyes can't see. Somewhere, someone will hear these words and find the courage to believe again, because your light helped sustain the message. So, if your spirit feels that nudge, follow it freely. There is no pressure here, only partnership. Giving, in this divine rhythm, is like planting a tree. You may never sit in its shade, but generations will, and heaven sees the hand that sows in love. You are not giving to a screen, you are giving to a movement of hearts. Every share spreads warmth to another soul. Every like is another heartbeat added to this living testimony. Every subscription is a way of saying, I want to keep the flame alive. And every seed of generosity whispers, let the fire keep burning. Because this is what heaven does, it multiplies warmth. It takes what little we offer and turns it into abundance. Just as one candle can light thousands without losing its flame, your act of support only increases the light within you. Chosen one, you've come through the fire, and now you are the fire. The world will feel your warmth. Every time you encourage, every time you give, every time you lift someone else, heaven laughs again, not in mockery, but in delight. You are the evidence that love survives the heat. So, as you breathe in this truth, let gratitude rise. If this message has reignited something in your heart, feel free to like, share, subscribe, or sow a small seed not out of duty, but as a declaration, the fire still burns in me. You're not just a listener, you're a co-keeper of the flame, and as long as you burn with faith, heaven's laughter will never fade. Every ember you release becomes a beacon for someone lost in shadow. Your kindness, your faith, your giving, they travel further than you think. The warmth you share today may be the miracle someone prays for tomorrow. Keep burning. Chosen one, let your fire tell the world that hope survives the storm. Heaven watches every spark you send forth, turning each one into laughter that never fades, light that never dies, and love that never ends. There comes a moment when the story reverses so completely that even you struggle to recognize the life you once lived. You look back and see pieces that once hurt now shining like jewels. You see broken seasons that have become gardens. You see that the table has turned and you are no longer the one standing outside looking in. The places that once rejected you now reach for your presence. The situations that once burdened you now bow to your authority. Heaven has turned the tide. Chosen one, what you are walking in now is not coincidence, it is recompense. The divine principle of reversal has been activated over your life. Everything that was meant to bury you has become the soil of your blooming. Every attack, every rumor, every failure has been rewritten by grace. You are standing in the harvest of the prayers you thought were unanswered. The seeds you planted in tears are now breaking through the surface in joy. You must understand, this is not random blessing. It is divine justice. Heaven remembers every season you endured silently, every injustice you handed over to God instead of avenging yourself. Those moments became holy currency in the courts of heaven, and the verdict has now been rendered: restore them double. You are not being rewarded just for your endurance, but for your restraint. When you could have fought back, you chose peace. When you could have spoken, you chose silence. And that silence spoke louder than any defense could have. It said, I trust God's timing more than my temper. That is what positioned you for this reversal. The Word of God confirms this in Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 7. The Lord will cause your enemies who rise against you to be defeated before you. They shall come out against you one way and flee before you 7 ways. You are watching this promise unfold. The very forces that conspired against you are scattering. Their confusion is heaven's confirmation that victory has been secured. What was once a battlefield has become a banquet. You no longer fight for survival, you feast in peace. And look around, the evidence is everywhere. Opportunities that once ignored you are now seeking you. The people who once doubted you are now asking for your wisdom. You have become living proof that God keeps receipts. Nothing that hurt you was wasted. Every loss became a lesson. Every valley carved new capacity in your spirit to hold greater glory. Do you remember the seasons where you begged for doors to open? Now, instead of knocking, you're being invited in. Heaven has changed the rhythm. You no longer chase, you attract. Not because of charm, but because of covenant. The favor resting on you is undeniable. It carries the scent of divine vindication. But this turning is not just for you. It's generational. Your obedience has broken cycles that lingered for decades. Your forgiveness has stopped curses mid-sentence. Your faith has rewritten your family's future. What the enemy tried to steal through bloodline, God has restored through belief. You have become a living monument of mercy. Proof that heaven remembers. This new season will feel strange at first. After so many years of fighting, peace might feel unfamiliar. After so many disappointments, favor may feel almost uncomfortable. But this is what you prayed for. It's just arriving in a form you didn't expect. Don't shrink under blessing. Learn to rest in it. Let gratitude replace guilt. Let abundance replace anxiety. You are not stealing this joy, you're inheriting it. And understand this, when heaven turns the tables, humility becomes your safeguard. The same grace that lifted you will sustain you. You won't need to prove yourself. The fruit of your life will speak. The best revenge has never been retaliation, it's resurrection. And you, chosen one, are living resurrection. You are walking through open gates now, ones that were locked for generations. You are standing under rains of favor that were stored up for appointed time. You are living the answer to ancestors' prayers, breathing the proof that persistence pays. Heaven laughs again, not because of vengeance, but because of victory. The sound of divine laughter over your life now is pure joy, a celebration that the enemy's plans collapsed under the weight of your faith. You have outlasted what was meant to end you. You have flourished where others expected you to fail. That is not luck. That is divine reversal. So, as you walk forward, do it with quiet confidence. The tide has turned. The harvest has begun. And the laughter of God is now your daily song. Every corner of your life that once echoed pain will soon echo praise. The table has turned, and you are seated in peace. Heaven watches as you breathe in peace after years of pressure. Every sunrise now greets you with favor's warmth. Proof that storms end and grace remains unshaken. The reversal is complete. Joy sits where sorrow once ruled. Walk gently through this new dawn. Every step carries laughter. Every glance reflects glory. You are the evidence that endings become beginnings, and that God always turns mourning into melody. There is a sound rising within you now, not just laughter, but something deeper. It's joy reborn from ashes. It's peace that no storm can steal. It's heaven's melody replaying through your heart. You've cried your tears. You've fought your wars. And now joy itself becomes your weapon. You no longer wait for laughter to return. You release it. You've become the echo of heaven's gladness in a weary world. Chosen one, You are entering a holy paradox, the kind of joy that exists not because life is perfect, but because God is faithful. It's not shallow happiness, it's sacred power. The world measures joy by circumstance, but heaven measures it by faith. Every time you choose to smile again, every time you laugh despite what you've endured, you shake the foundations of hell. Because joy is not weakness, it's warfare. There was a time when laughter felt far away. You used to look at others and wonder if that lightness would ever visit you again. But heaven never took your laughter away. It was only hidden, waiting for its appointed hour. Now, that hour has come. The same God who carried you through sorrow is now filling you with holy laughter. It's rising in you like dawn breaking after endless night. You might not realize it, but laughter is prophecy. It declares to the atmosphere, what once wounded me no longer has power. It announces to darkness that you've outgrown despair. That's why the enemy hates joy. It cannot be faked or forced. It's evidence of victory. When heaven laughs, creation aligns. And when you laugh with heaven, everything broken begins to heal. The ancient words in Nehemiah, chapter 8, verse 10 remind us, do not grieve, for the joy of the Lord is your strength. That is not just a comforting verse, it's an instruction. You are being called to use joy as armor. Your laughter is not trivial, it is sacred defiance. It tells the world, my strength doesn't come from circumstances, it comes from heaven's smile over me. That laughter within you is divine. It's the sound of a spirit that refused to die. Chosen one. This new joy isn't fragile, it's fire. It cannot be stolen because it no longer depends on outcomes. It lives in the same place where your faith lives deep, untouchable, eternal. You've learned that peace is not the absence of storms, but the presence of divine stability. That's why laughter now flows from you like water from a rock. It's miraculous and unstoppable. And this joy you carry is not just for you. It's contagious. Heaven is using your restored laughter to awaken others. Your smile becomes medicine. Your voice becomes melody. People will feel peace around you without knowing why. They will sense heaven in your laughter, because it carries redemption's tone. Every giggle, every soft smile, every light-hearted word is holy, because it was forged in pain and purified in prayer. That's what makes it powerful. The world has enough noise. What it needs now is your authentic joy, your healed laughter, your unshaken peace. You've entered a new chapter where joy isn't just emotion, it's identity. You're not pretending to be happy. You are the evidence that happiness can live again. Heaven is proud of you, and the Father himself delights in your laughter. You're walking in the fulfillment of prophecy. He will yet fill your mouth with laughter and your lips with shouts of joy. So today, let this be more than words. Let it be a moment of alignment. Heaven is pouring strength through joy into your spirit right now. You can feel it, the lightness, the warmth, the quiet confidence. It's heaven's laughter taking residence in you. As a prophetic act of agreement, go to the comments and type 333. That number carries the message of divine completeness, unity with heaven, and perfect harmony between spirit, soul, and body. When you write 333, you are declaring, I am one with heaven's joy. I am aligned with divine peace. My laughter is now a prayer and a weapon. Every 333 written becomes a symbol of heaven's presence, filling you fully, Father. Son, and Spirit working together to overflow your heart with unbreakable joy. You are not just laughing again, you are laughing with God. So laugh. Chosen one, let the sound of restoration fill the air around you. Joy is not a visitor anymore, it's your home. Heaven's laughter dwells within you, and it will never fade. When you type 333, you awaken heaven's echo inside you. It's more than a number, it's agreement with divine joy flowing through every fiber of your being. You're saying, I am whole, aligned, and overflowing with heaven's laughter. Each 333 you release becomes a seed of balance. Father, Son, and Spirit weave peace through your story, turning old pain into radiant harmony. This is your covenant with divine wholeness, a joyful sound heaven recognizes instantly. So, write 333 and feel the shift. Let it seal your restoration, your laughter, your freedom. Heaven rejoices through you, and joy becomes your eternal anthem. There was a time when silence felt like abandonment, when every unanswered prayer weighed heavy and the stillness of heaven seemed unbearable. You thought the quiet meant that God had stepped away, that perhaps he had forgotten your name. Yet now you know the truth. The silence was not punishment, it was preparation. Heaven was not ignoring you, it was incubating something too sacred to speak aloud yet. Chosen one, there is a language beyond words, a language of waiting, of trust, of still endurance. You spoke it fluently, even when you didn't realize it. Every time you held your peace instead of explaining yourself, you were speaking heaven's language. Every moment you chose stillness over striving. Heaven heard that as thunder. The silence you endured was never empty. It was a seed being planted deep within your spirit. You have learned what few ever understand, that silence can be holy. It is in silence that you hear the subtle pulse of heaven. It's in the quiet that revelation is born. Noise might excite the flesh, but silence refines the soul. And in those quiet nights when you felt unseen, God was writing your authority into existence. The time you spent misunderstood was not wasted. Heaven was sculpting something in your character that applause could never build stability. You learned to walk without validation, to move without approval, to trust without evidence. That kind of faith cannot be taught, it can only be forged. The seasons that seemed empty were the exact moments heaven filled you with unseen strength. We read in the sacred book of Exodus, chapter 14, verse 14, "The Lord will fight for you, you need only to be still." This verse was not a comfort, it was a command. Stillness was your battlefield. When others panicked, you chose peace. When others chased answers, you waited for God's whisper. You may have doubted your worth in those silent seasons, but heaven never did. The stillness you endured became your signature of trust. Now, look back and see what that silence produced. You speak differently now. Your words carry weight because they are born from restraint. You no longer react to everything around you because you've learned that real authority doesn't need to shout. Heaven anoints those who can stand quietly under pressure. And that's what you did. You stood. In that silence, you discovered the rhythm of heaven's timing. You learned that delays are not denials, and that quietness is not absence. You found strength in surrender and wisdom in waiting. You realized that when heaven is silent, it's not void, it's full of movement behind the veil. The plans being written in silence always echo the loudest when revealed. Your silence became thunder in the spirit. The enemy mistook your stillness for surrender, but it was strategy. God was hiding you under his wing while he rearranged everything around you. When the world saw inactivity, heaven saw incubation. Every promise was growing roots. And now those roots are breaking through the surface. There is something sacred about the strength that grows in hiddenness. You are no longer shaken by delays because you've lived through divine pauses. You no longer rush to speak because you know timing is everything. Heaven has tuned your heart to its rhythm. You move when heaven moves, and you rest when heaven rests. That is what makes you unshakable. Chosen one, your silence changed you. It taught you to discern the whispers between the words. It showed you that prayer doesn't always need sound to be powerful. It taught you that peace isn't the absence of chaos, but the awareness of presence. And now, your very being carries the calm of heaven. When you walk into a room, storms settle. When you speak, confusion clears. You don't need to announce authority. Your peace reveals it. That's the result of what heaven built in silence: stability, serenity, and spiritual sharpness. You have become a reflection of divine composure. The world around you may still shout, but you no longer respond to noise. You have found the still point in the spinning world. That is your anointing to carry silence that speaks louder than chaos. You are a walking sanctuary of peace. A reminder that not every battle is fought with words. Some victories are born in whispers. Heaven laughs now because the very thing the enemy used to isolate you has become your weapon. Your stillness terrifies darkness because it reveals complete trust in God. Silence has turned into sound, the sound of divine confidence, unshaken faith, and the echo of heaven's laughter through you. So, let this truth settle deep in your heart. The seasons of silence were not wasted. They were the womb of your authority. You emerged from that quiet, not empty, but full, carrying heaven's wisdom, wrapped in divine calm. And now, even when the world grows loud again, you carry peace that cannot be disturbed. For you have learned that when silence becomes thunder, victory is already near. There are moments in eternity when heaven marks a life with such radiance that even darkness must acknowledge it. That is what has happened to you. Chosen one, you have been marked by glory. It is not a mark that the world can see with ordinary eyes, but the atmosphere recognizes it. The realm of the Spirit bows to it. You walk through places, and peace follows. You speak, and heaviness begins to lift. That is not coincidence, it is identity. Heaven has branded you with divine light. There was a time you walked in uncertainty, doubting your worth and questioning your place in the grand story. You used to wonder if your voice mattered, if your presence made a difference. But now heaven has answered those unspoken questions. The mark you carry is proof that your life carries weight in eternity. Every act of faith, every moment of surrender, every yes whispered in the dark has shaped you into a vessel of radiance. You might not see it, but the spiritual world does. Angels recognize your obedience like soldiers salute a king's command. The light around you did not appear suddenly. It was forged through your faithfulness. Every storm you endured polished your crown. Every delay prepared your steps. Every hidden season carved holiness into your character. And now, that invisible glory cannot be taken away. It is part of who you are. This mark of glory is not decoration, it is delegation. Heaven has entrusted you with authority born from humility. You do not carry this light to boast. but to build. You do not shine to be seen, but to show the way. Glory, in its purest form, is not applause, it is assignment. God marks those he trusts, and he trusts you. The sacred text of 2 Corinthians, chapter 3, verse 18 declares, "We all, with unveiled faces, reflect the Lord's glory, being transformed into his likeness with ever-increasing glory." This verse is alive in you. You reflect what you've seen. You mirror the mercy that healed you, the grace that restored you, the light that led you through shadow. You are no longer merely surviving the world, you are shaping it by carrying heaven's reflection into it. Every smile, every kind word, every prayer you whisper becomes a beam of that glory released into the atmosphere. You are not the same person you once were. The transformation is visible, not in outward change, but in presence. When people encounter you now, they feel something different: peace, weight, warmth. That is not personality, it is presence. The divine presence resting upon you speaks even when you are silent. You have become a living altar, where heaven and earth meet quietly through grace. The mark of glory does not remove humanity, it refines it. You will still feel, still weep, still wonder. But now even your emotions are sacred vessels through which heaven moves. Your compassion has deepened because you understand suffering. Your wisdom has expanded because you listened in the silence. Your love has intensified because you have seen what redemption costs. The enemy sees that mark and knows he cannot touch you the same way again. He may attempt distraction, but not destruction. The seal of heaven upon your spirit has shifted your spiritual jurisdiction. You carry peace into chaos and light into shadow, and both must yield. That is why you will often notice tension when you enter certain spaces. It's not resistance against you, it's recognition of the glory you carry. And yet, this mark also carries weight. Glory is not glitter, it is gravity. It pulls you toward responsibility. It calls you to higher levels of awareness, discipline, and grace. You cannot live like before. Light changes the way you walk. It demands gentleness, because real power does not shout, it serves. Heaven did not mark you to elevate ego, but to extend influence through compassion. Now your presence itself becomes ministry. You no longer have to strive to prove anything. Simply being who you are now ministers to others. The mark of glory speaks louder than sermons. It draws people not to you, but to the one whose reflection you bear. That is the beauty of divine transformation. It is contagious without control, powerful without pretense. Heaven rejoices when a soul reaches this stage, the stage where glory no longer feels like a spotlight, but like breath. You are no longer chasing miracles, you have become one. You are not asking for signs, your life is the sign. Heaven's laughter over you now is full, radiant, complete. It is not laughter at the end of a battle, it is laughter at the beginning of legacy. Because from this point forward, everything you touch carries residue of heaven's glow. Every word you speak is soaked in the oil of understanding. Every path you walk becomes illuminated for those who follow behind you. Glory is not something you carry, it is something that carries you. So move gently, yet boldly. You are heaven's reflection, walking through time. You are proof that God still marks human souls with eternal light. Let that glory guide your steps and guard your heart. For once marked by heaven, you never walk alone again. Heaven is still celebrating. Chosen one. There is a festival in the unseen every time your heart chooses light again. Angels dance around your endurance, and the laughter of God ripples through eternity like a song that never ends. You may not hear the sound, but your spirit does. You can feel it, the quiet joy that now hums beneath your skin, the steady rhythm of grace that beats within your chest. It's the rhythm of victory. It's heaven's applause for a life that refused to bow to darkness. You have become part of a living celebration, the continuation of heaven's laughter echoing across generations. Every step you take in obedience adds another note to the music. Every act of kindness, every whispered prayer, every time you love, even when it hurts, you extend heaven's melody across the earth. The angels know your name not because of fame, but because of faith. You are one of the chosen who turned endurance into song. When heaven laughs now, it does so because of you, because you still believe, still hope, still love. And heaven's joy does not stay in heaven, it seeks expression on earth. It flows through stories, through art, through voices that dare to carry the message of light. You are part of that flow. Every time you engage with these words, you're tuning your heart to heaven's key. You're saying, "Let your joy live through me." The Gospel of Luke, chapter 15, verse 10 tells us, "There is joy before the angels of God over one sinner who repents." But heaven's joy doesn't stop there. It multiplies in every moment of awakening. Every time someone hears truth and remembers who they are, heaven rejoices. Every time you rise again, laughter fills the throne room. You are that reason. You are the continuation of that joy. And now, as this divine laughter ripples through the earth, heaven whispers an invitation, not a command, not an obligation, but an invitation. When you like these words, when you share them, you are not performing a gesture, you are sending a spark into the sky, helping the constellation of heaven's joy stretch wider across the night. When you comment, you're not typing, you're testifying. Every word becomes a small altar, a record of gratitude, a place where someone else might find courage. That is how heaven uses the simple to accomplish the sacred. And if your spirit ever feels led to give, don't think of it as donation, think of it as planting another tree in heaven's garden. The fruit might not grow where you can see it, but the roots will reach deep into souls who need the shade of grace. When you subscribe, imagine it as entering the dance. You're not following a channel, you're stepping into heaven's rhythm, choosing to remain connected to the current of light that moves through every story. Each time you return, you bring more life to the melody. You see, none of these actions are small, they are sacred. They remind the world that goodness is still growing, that faith is still alive, that beauty still wins. Each act is voluntary, pure, free-born, not of pressure, but of participation in divine joy. So, if your heart feels that whisper, follow it softly. Like, if your spirit was warmed, share. If you want the flame to reach another soul, comment. If your voice carries gratitude, give. If your hands wish to join heaven's laughter, subscribe. If your heart wants to keep walking beside this light, do nothing from obligation, do everything from overflow. Let generosity, connection, and joy flow from you like rivers from a renewed spring. Because in truth, you are not just supporting a message, you are sustaining a movement of light. And remember, chosen one, every click, every word, every seed of generosity is another heartbeat in heaven's song. When you like, you let light breathe. When you share, you release wings. When you comment, you plant truth. When you subscribe, you stay in rhythm. When you give, you water the roots of joy. Do it not because you must, but because your spirit wants to keep the melody alive. That's how heaven's laughter keeps echoing through hearts that choose love freely. Heaven counts every act of love you release. Nothing is unnoticed, every whisper of kindness. Every quiet offering becomes music that keeps eternity singing. You are part of heaven's rhythm, a living instrument of grace echoing through the hearts of those who still search for light. Each time you choose to give, to share, to believe, you build invisible bridges between souls. Heaven uses your faith like a pen, writing hope into places untouched by joy. The melody of your mercy fills rooms long silent, turning sorrow into symphony and despair into dawn. Chosen one, your story itself is an offering. Every breath of gratitude you release becomes a spark of heaven's laughter on earth. Keep living, keep glowing, keep giving, because through your faith, heaven continues to sing victory over every shadow. There is a moment when the soul stops running, not because it has given up, but because it has found what it was always searching for: peace. After all the storms, all the prayers, all the nights you asked why, peace arrives not as noise, but as a quiet certainty that God has been with you the whole time. You don't need to chase answers anymore. You've become one, chosen one. You have walked a long and winding road. You've known loss. You've known delay. You've felt the sting of being misunderstood. Yet, through it all, something eternal has been forming in you, something that no pain can erase. You have become a sanctuary, a living temple where heaven and earth meet in stillness. You no longer seek signs in the sky. You carry them within. The peace you now feel is not weakness, it is strength refined. It is the calm that comes after knowing chaos intimately and surviving it. It's the kind of peace that doesn't deny reality, but transforms it. You've seen enough to understand that even pain can serve purpose, and that no tear ever falls unnoticed. The same God who counted your sorrows has also numbered your joys, and the scales are shifting in your favor. There is a sacred maturity in you now. The urgency that once filled your prayers has softened into trust. You've learned that heaven's pace is not slow, it's sovereign. Every delay was divine choreography. Every no was protection in disguise. You have stopped demanding explanations because now you understand when God writes your story. The full meaning is rarely visible until the final page. You used to think that peace would come once everything around you settled. But heaven taught you the opposite. Peace isn't found when the storm ends. It's found when you learn to rest in the storm. That revelation changed everything. Now, you walk through uncertainty with quiet eyes. Because your trust has grown roots. You no longer need to understand to believe. The prophet Isaiah captured this truth in chapter 26, verse 3. You will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast, because they trust in you. That verse has become your reality. You are no longer tossed by the winds of circumstance. You are anchored in trust. The waves can roar, but they cannot move you. You've become a still point in a spinning world, a living testimony that perfect peace is not a dream but a discipline. You carry that atmosphere wherever you go. People may not know why they feel lighter around you, but heaven does. The peace you carry is not learned, it's imparted. You've been through enough storms to understand the value of silence. You've been betrayed enough to know the worth of forgiveness. You've cried enough tears to understand the power of joy. Every experience was heaven's classroom, and peace was your graduation. Now, when trouble knocks, you no longer panic. You pause. You listen. You remember how many times God has already delivered you. You know that even if the world shakes again, your foundation will hold. You've discovered the rhythm of divine stillness, the ability to rest even while running, to breathe deeply even when battles surround you. That's what makes you different. You have moved beyond reaction. You have entered reflection. Life no longer pulls you from every direction because you have found your center. And that center is Christ within you. You walk slower now, not from fatigue, but from awareness. You recognize sacred moments in ordinary places. You see miracles hidden in the mundane. You've learned that the holiest thing you can do is to stay present. Heaven laughs softly now, not in thunder, but in contentment. The sound is tender like wind through leaves, like waves kissing the shore. It's the laughter of a father who watches his child finally rest. It's the sound of completion, the quiet triumph of faith that has finished its proving ground. Heaven's laughter over you now is not victory won through war, but through surrender. You have become fluent in grace. You forgive faster, love deeper, breathe slower. You no longer measure success by what you achieve, but by how much peace you refuse to lose. You understand that peace is not passive. It's a weapon that confuses the enemy and comforts the weary. So now, as heaven watches, you walk into your days with calm assurance. You don't have to strive anymore. You simply flow. You are no longer trying to prove your faith. You are living it. You have become what you once prayed to find: steadfast, steady, whole. And this peace, this deep, unshakable peace, is the sound of heaven laughing through you. The battle is over, and grace has won. You are home in your spirit at last. Heaven watches as you rest in quiet victory. Your stillness has become praise. Your calm a declaration that faith has finished its fight. Peace now wears your name like a crown. Every breath you take sings gratitude. You are the proof that surrender is strength, that trust rewrites every storm. Heaven laughs softly because you finally found home within grace. There comes a time when every chosen soul reaches the summit, the place where vision and fulfillment finally meet. It is not a loud moment, nor is it surrounded by spectacle. It is quiet, sacred, and weightless. You stand there, chosen one, not as the same person who began the climb, but as one completely transformed. What once broke you now bows before you. The mountain that once loomed over your path now feels small beneath your feet. You have not just reached a destination, you have become one. The air here feels different, thinner, yet purer. Every breath you take carries memory and meaning. You can still see the valleys below, the places of pain, the nights of confusion, the long corridors of waiting, but now you understand them. They were never detours, they were directions. The scars on your hands, the stories behind your eyes, the lessons etched into your soul, they all tell one truth: heaven was with you in every step. Look around this spiritual summit. There is light everywhere, not just around you, but within you. You are glowing, not because life has become easy, but because you have become eternal in your understanding. You have learned what most never do, that joy and pain are not enemies, they are partners in the creation of strength. Heaven's laughter was not mocking your struggle, it was guiding you toward revelation. Every tear was a seed, and now you stand among fields of gold. The journey you have walked has not only changed your perspective, it has changed your essence. You no longer measure life by outcomes, but by obedience. You no longer chase purpose as if it were far away. You recognize it in your every breath. Purpose was never a distant star, it was the fire God lit within you long ago. The climb only revealed what was already written. The book of Philippians, chapter 1, verse 6 declares, "He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus." You are standing in that completion, not the end of growth, but the beginning of fulfillment. Heaven does not define completion as finality, it defines it as fullness. You are walking proof of divine consistency. The same hand that started your story never stopped writing, even when you thought the ink had run dry. And now, the story sings. The laughter of God you once heard from afar now vibrates through your own heartbeat. You have become its echo. You laugh now, not out of relief, but revelation. You see the beauty in the breaking, the art in the ashes, the promise in the pauses. Every test was a sculptor's touch. Every unanswered prayer was an unopened gift waiting for divine timing. You carry peace now, but also power, the authority born of suffering, the clarity forged in waiting, the love matured through forgiveness. These are your treasures. You have walked through fire and did not burn, because what was meant to destroy you only refined you. That is heaven's humor, to turn every weapon into worship, every battle into blessing. Look how far you've come. The child who once feared tomorrow now walks with eternity in their eyes. The one who once begged for direction now becomes a compass for others. You are no longer asking God to change your story. You are thanking Him for how perfectly He wrote it. What once confused you now comforts you. You've discovered that divine timing is not delay, it's design. You have reached the season where gratitude replaces striving. You don't need to prove, perform, or persuade. You simply are. You exist as evidence of grace. That is the highest state of being, to live as a reflection of God's faithfulness without needing to explain it. Every breath becomes worship. Every step becomes prayer. And though this summit feels like completion, heaven smiles, because it knows this is only the beginning of greater journeys. The laughter you now carry will ripple through others, awakening light in places that have never seen dawn. Your peace will plant peace. Your strength will build strength. Your testimony will water faith in hearts still searching. Heaven's laughter over you now is different. It's not just victory, it's vision. It sees beyond this moment, into the generations that will feel the warmth of your obedience. Your endurance didn't just save you, it carved a path for others to follow. You are not the end of the story, you are the continuation of heaven's melody on earth. So, stand there a while longer. Breathe. Look how far grace has carried you. Every mountain you've climbed was never about reaching the top, it was about revealing the divine in you. You've become both traveler and testimony, both student and song. The laughter that once came from heaven now flows through you. You are heaven's laughter made flesh, living proof that light always wins. And as the wind moves around you, you understand at last, this was never about survival. It was always about becoming. The summit was never the destination, it was the mirror where you'd finally see who you've always been chosen. Complete, crowned with joy. And now, chosen one. The story rests. The mountain stands behind you. The horizon glows before you. And heaven's laughter hums softly through your spirit. You have walked through fire, through silence, through revelation, and now you shine with a light the world cannot dim. Heaven does not clap with noise, it claps with wind, with warmth, with whispers of, "Well done." This moment is not an ending, it's a release. What you carry now is too powerful to stay still. Let it flow outward. When you like, you are lighting another torch. When you share, you release a ripple of hope that someone in the dark might feel. When you comment, you leave your fingerprint on this divine story, saying, "I was here, and heaven spoke." When you subscribe, you choose to remain close to the current of light that flows between heaven and earth. This is how divine messages keep traveling through willing hearts. Every gesture you make, no matter how small, joins the rhythm of heaven's laughter moving across the earth. You are part of that sound now. You are not just hearing the message, you have become the message. So let your actions carry what words cannot. Like if your heart was stirred, share if you want the light to find another soul. Comment your reflection, it might be the very sentence someone needs. Subscribe if you wish to walk this journey again and again. Hand in hand with heaven's voice. Let it be free. Let it be love. No demand, no pressure, only the echo of gratitude. Only the movement of grace. The laughter of God continues through you, through every gentle act, through every word that flows from a heart awakened. Keep shining, keep believing, keep breathing light. The story is eternal, and you are part of its glow.